Hey everybody, Matt Johnston here. I'm back with another COVID-19 legal update. So today I want to talk about PPP loans and some recent IRS guidance. Over the weekend I saw what probably was one of the most blatantly wrong articles I've seen on PPP loans and how they're going to be treated for tax purposes. I'm not even going to bother linking to it, but let's just say that it came from a major news outlet and it was pretty much wrong on many levels. So a lot of people are asking me though, how am I going to manage the taxation of the PPP loans? How's it going to be reported? Things of that nature. So the IRS issued some guidance a little over a week ago that talked about that if you receive a PPP loan, that money that you use for qualified expenses will not be treated as taxable income. Sorry about the truck going by. So let me say that again. If you use the PPP loan proceeds for allowable purpose, which is payroll costs, certain costs related to health insurance, benefits, rent, utilities, things like that, things that we've talked about many times. If you use the proceeds for that, it will not be reported as taxable income. The IRS guidance also made clear that your expenditures on those things, for qualified expenditures, would not be treated as deductions from income either. So to the extent that they're traced to the PPP loan. So how does that work? So let's give an example. Let's assume that you received $100,000 in your PPP loan. All right. You use 80% of that money on your payroll costs, which is the whole purpose of the loan. You use another 10% on rent and another 10% on utilities. If that's the case, you have some very expensive utilities, but that's neither here nor there. So you've used 100% of that loan for allowable purposes. The loan will be forgiven, and then that loan will not be treated as taxable income. Normally when a loan is forgiven, it's treated as taxable income to the person who receives the benefit of the loan forgiveness. But if you're forgiven, in this case, under the CARES Act, the PPP loan will not be considered taxable income. But you also cannot deduct the expenses. So you normally are able to deduct payroll expenses and rent and utilities from your taxable income. The IRS reasoning is that if you forgive the loan and that's not treated as taxable income, allowing people to take the deductions is a double tax benefit, and they didn't want to do that. And that wasn't the intent of Congress anyway, at least according to the IRS. So in that case, it's like the money doesn't really exist in terms of taxation and tax reporting. It still exists, obviously, but for the taxation purposes, it does not. Let's take a slightly different example. Let's say you get that same $100,000. You use 75% of that loan for your payroll purposes, allowable expenses. You use another 15% for your utilities and rent and healthcare costs for your employees, allowable expenses. So now you've used $90,000, but you decide to take that 10% that's left over, that $10,000, and buy some new equipment or a new POS system for your business. Okay, that's not an allowable expense normally, and so that 10%, that $10,000, would not be forgiven as a loan. Now, you would have to report the income as you would report loan income, and then you'd be reporting the deductions as well. So that $10,000 that you used to buy your POS system or to buy equipment, that would be converted to a loan, 1% loan under the PPP, but then you would also have to report that income and the deductions in order to qualify, in order to report accurately your tax picture. So if the money is forgiven, it pretty much doesn't exist if you use, because you're not going to report both the income or the deductions. But if the loan is not forgiven, then that activity has to be reported on your taxes. This is an important time in which to speak to your accountant. If you receive PPP loans, speak to your accountant about documenting what you need to have documented in order to get the loan forgiveness, but also to make sure that you are reporting that information correctly on your tax returns for next year when you sit down to do your taxes. If you have any questions about the taxation, about anything like that, you can give us a call. We will do our best to answer the questions, but you should also consult your tax professional or accountant. In the meantime, everybody stay safe, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.